What's going on, guys? This is Ryan with the RK Outpost, and Disney has been very clear about the direction they want to continue to take the Marvel Cinematic Universe. In fact, Kevin Feige told us years ago that the focus of Phase 4 of the MCU would be on identity politics, and that has played out throughout these releases. Despite something like No Way Home, which brought in $1.7 billion, which completely blew out of the water the narrative that surrounded the disappointment of MCU releases in 2021. Things like Black Widow, things like Shang-Chi, and of course things like The Eternals, where people said it's just because of COVID that we're having these box office results. Well, as Spider-Man showed, if the focus is on the story as opposed to the identity politics surrounding these movies, well, you can have great, incredible success. It turns out that Tessa Thompson is telling everyone exactly what to expect from Thor: Love and Thunder, and it looks like it's more of the same for Phase 4 of the MCU. Thor: Love and Thunder actress Tessa Thompson says film will explore LGBT relationship, describes it as exciting. And we know who Tessa Thompson is. We know Tessa Thompson's an activist, much like the majority of people that work in Hollywood. But this is yet another indicator that Marvel's going to take this opportunity, a character like Thor, where literally everyone is going to be there to see Chris Hemsworth as Thor. That's who's going to go to this movie. That's why people will be there. Well, of course, they're not going to miss an opportunity, one, to push a character they've already race swapped in Valkyrie, but now they're going to talk about the relationship she's going to have with evidently another woman, which of course I don't really think is the primary reason why anyone will be going to Thor: Love and Thunder. But let's read on. During a recent interview, Thor: Love and Thunder actress Tessa Thompson teased that the Marvel Cinematic Universe will feature many LGBT relationships in the years to come, and that Thor: Love and Thunder will have a focus on an LGBT relationship. For starters, the MCU will include an LGBT romance with the upcoming Thor: Love and Thunder. Thompson portrays the fan-favorite comic book character Brunhilde, referred to as Valkyrie in the films, albeit this interpretation doesn't appear to be the same Norse goddess from the original comics. Yeah, that's because Tessa Thompson's not white. Shockingly, I know this is a shock to some people, but there are no black Asgardians. Right, it doesn't make any sense. It didn't make any sense when they made it Idris Elba. It didn't make any sense when they did it with Tessa Thompson. But this is Disney and this is the MCU. They are required to do this. That's basically what it seems like. And they find no value in original characters or originally black characters. They want to race swap existing characters. That's exactly what they've done with Valkyrie. Thompson portrays the fan favorite. I just read that. Marvel did introduce a version based on Thompson's character into the comics in a recent Exiled series. So that's what they do whenever you have someone like that. We see it with Peacemaker or, Jason Momoa's Aquaman with DC. They'll do a comic related that shows people, hey, this is a character you recognize from what's on screen. Now we're going to make that part of a cover or part of a limited series run, something like that. Thompson's sexuality, the actress is bisexual, seems to influence this new interpretation of the character for the MCU. Thompson previously claimed the character was bisexual on Twitter following the release of Thor: Ragnarok. She wrote, "She's bi, and yes, she cares very little about what men think of her. What a joy to play." Yeah, because it's exactly you. Because that is exactly Tessa Thompson. Does not care about men and is bisexual. What a shock that that's what happens to a character she's portraying. During a recent interview with The Wrap, Thompson was asked how she felt about being the MCU's first openly LGBTQ, despite not actually being the first one. Yeah, did we just see that with Eternals? I feel like we literally just saw that in Eternals. And I mean, how did that work out for Eternals? Oh, that's right. They didn't even crack $400 million. Absolute catastrophe once again for Marvel. And I know people want to pretend like Shang-Chi was this great success. Oh my gosh, it might have actually made $20 or $30. Incredible. Yeah, that's a huge disappointment for an MCU movie. Just like Black Widow was a huge disappointment. Eternals, huge disappointment. We saw with No Way Home that pandemic narrative is just non-existent. It's used by a lot of people as a crutch when they find it convenient, but in reality, we saw what they can do at the box office when they give fans something they actually are asking for and something that they actually want. Great success. But back to this article. It's totally exciting. We talk so much about representation, and obviously, in terms of the LGBTQIA, we need to add more letters there. It's not enough of a mouthful yet. Community, there's still so much work to be done. But if you look at the comics in the canon, there are so many queer characters. You know, there are a lot of queer characters in the comics. Shockingly, the vast majority of them originated in like 2013, 14, 15, and on. You know, that's what they're pulling from when they're talking about all this representation that's in the comic books. When you had activists in the comic book industry specifically either create or change these characters' sexuality in order to win virtue signal points. And you'd think the MCU would have figured this out. You'd think Disney would figure this out. Look at what happened to the comic books. In exchange for virtue signaling, for things like interaction on Twitter and likes and shares on Twitter, the comic book industry fell in on itself. Because all of a sudden they lost so many of the fans that they had before because they were focusing not on the story, but on identity politics. That's exactly what is happening when we look in the movie industry as well. But they're not going to understand that. They're going to continue to do this over and over again. The actress further noted, it's hard because Taika Waititi and I would have liked to go further, but in the context of the movies, there's only so much we can do. So what, Disney wouldn't allow you to be as gay as you wanted to be? I mean, it's not like these things have even been released in China. I would imagine Thor Love and Thunder, especially if they're going to have, you know, LGBT relationships, is not going to be released in China. And I actually think that's a very important thing. When we look at Thor Ragnarok, I've talked about this several times, $850 million worldwide. Pretty big number, not a billion or anything like that, but pretty big number, especially compared to the previous Thor movies. And why were people there? For Thor, shockingly. But when you look at the international breakdown, it's very interesting. China, $112 million in the box office. That's big. That is a big number from China, and that's something I don't think the MCU can count on anymore. Based on China not allowing a lot of things to be shown, and they're very picky in terms of the identity politics. So I don't know if that's going to work out so well for them, but let's continue on. Thompson then opined, unfortunately, there's not a lot of time invested in love stories in Marvel movies in general. I think that's a little hit or miss. I think there's some where it certainly is not. But in the case of, you know, Iron Man, you know, you have the relationship with Pepper Potts. It's definitely part of it. I wouldn't say the focus necessarily of a lot of the Iron Man movies, but it's definitely there. Captain America, you have a love story. Thor, actually, you have a love story with him and Jane Foster. Hulk, you have a love story. Doctor Strange, actually, I would say a lot of them do involve some sort of relationship, but I would agree it's not necessarily the focus for most of them. But I don't know if I totally agree with their statement in general. I think that'll be a little different on the new Thor, which is exciting. And getting to play a character that historically is not written for somebody that looks like me, all of that felt exciting. And there it is, of course, yeah, because it's a race swap character. These people can find they cannot see themselves in the character unless they're exactly like them. They have to have my same skin color, my same sexuality. They have to be born where I was born. These people are nuts. The people that need that to identify with someone, they're not actually fans of these things. They're not actually fans of these franchises. They're just not. You know, did I have to look like Lando Calrissian to find him interesting in Star Wars Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi? No, absolutely not. But that's the narrative that a lot of these people seem to run with. It's very, very strange. The higher-ups at Marvel made it very clear they want more representation, and they're making it happen, as anyone who watched The Eternals knows. At the premiere, Kevin Feige commented on turning Brian Tyree Henry's Phastos into a homosexual. There have been gay heroes before in the comics. It's more than pastime in the films, and it's just the start. So we know that that is absolutely the priority moving forward. And I just don't know how well that's going to work. The priority for you guys should be on telling good stories, on great storytelling, on giving people what they want to see. The amount of people calling for this and any focus on this, or honestly Valkyrie's character in general, is so small. I know you think the Twitter likes mean something. They don't. Bottom line, they don't mean anything in the grand scheme of things. Just because someone likes something or shares it on Twitter because they have pronouns in their bio too, doesn't mean they're going to buy a ticket for it. Doesn't mean they're going to buy an action figure for it. But they continue to make this mistake over and over again because they're more concerned with pushing their ideology than they are with actual entertainment. But let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later.
Thanks for watching, everyone, and a huge shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram? Check out the description below. You'll find links to my PO box and my Patreon as well. I'll talk to you guys later.